This is your 5-minute explanation of Catan. Let's start with the basics. The game from Albi is for 3 to 4 players ages 10 and up. The average game time is 75 minutes, with the object of the game being to score 10 points first by collecting and trading resources to build roads, towns, and armies. The game contains 6 board frame pieces, 19 board tiles, 2 dice, 18 numbered discs, 4 sets of player pieces. Each set has 15 roads, 5 towns, and 4 cities. 1 tile for the largest army, 1 tile for the longest road, 4 trading guides, resource cards for brick, wheat, ore, wool, and wood, action cards, and the robber. To set up the game, first take the board frame pieces and put them together. You can see on the edges of the frame how they connect. Next, take the board tiles and shuffle them. Place them inside the frame starting in one spot and work your way around the edges. Then, work your way into the interior of the board. Next, take the number tiles and place them in alphabetical order. Now place them on the board tiles in the same order you placed the board tiles, skipping over the desert. Flip over the number tiles so that the numbers are face up and the letters are face down. Each player should choose their color and collect their towns, cities, and roads. Each player should also get a trading guide. One player should be designated as the banker, and they will be in charge of handing out the resource cards and the action cards. Players now roll the dice to see who goes first. The player with the highest number will go first, followed clockwise around the board. The person who goes first will get to place one of their towns wherever they would like to on the board, with one road attached to that town. The other players follow suit. Once the last player places their town, the last player gets to place another town and road, and the others will do the same in the opposite order as before. Before moving on, let's talk more about the placement of your towns and roads. When placing a town, you must place the town where 2 or 3 tiles intersect, such as here or here. They cannot be placed in between intersections. A road must connect to a town or a city or to another road. Roads are placed in between intersections like this. A town or a city must be at least 2 lengths away from another town or city. Next, you'll want to place the robber on the desert. Once all the towns have been placed, the first player rolls the dice. Whatever number they roll, look for that number on the board. If someone's town is connected to a territory that has that number, that player will receive 1 of that resource. If there are multiple players connected to that territory, they each will receive 1 of that type of resource. Players are collecting resources in order to acquire and build different kinds of things. A list of different options are on the trading guides. A player may trade resources at the start of their turn before throwing the dice. You can trade with other players, or you can trade through one of the ports. In order to trade with one of the ports, you must have a road connected to that port. When trading with a port, you must trade according to the ratio of that port. When trading with another player, any combination is allowed so long as both players agree on the trade. When you have collected enough resources to build something, you may choose to build, but it must be done at the start of your turn before rolling the dice. Just turn in the appropriate amount of cards to the bank and build your roads, towns, or upgrade your city. Upgrading your town to a city will allow that city to collect double the amount of resources when a number is rolled that matches that city. Another thing you can trade in resources for are action cards. These cards have different abilities. Some give you bonus points for trying to win the game. Some give you knights for building an army and can give you bonuses for roads or more. The knights are the most common cards and can serve 2 purposes. A knight can be used to fight off the robber. We'll talk more about the robber in just a moment. Or knights can be collected to build up your army. Once a player has at least 3 knights, they can claim to have the largest army and can take the tile for the largest army. Being in possession of this tile gives you 2 points towards winning the game. If another player surpasses that knight count, they would take the tile. The longest road tile is acquired for the first player to build an uninterrupted road that is at least 5 pieces long. Uninterrupted means no cities are between segments of the road. Once a player achieves this status, they take the longest road tile. This gives them 2 points towards the victory. One number you will notice that is not on the board is the number 7. If a 7 is rolled, 3 things happen. All players who have 7 or more resource cards will lose half of their resource cards. If it's an odd number of cards, say for instance you have 7 cards, you would lose 3 cards. The player gets to choose which cards that they will lose. The second thing that happens is the person who rolled the 7 can now move the robber onto one of the territories of the board. Whenever the robber is placed on a territory, that territory will stop producing goods until the robber is moved from that area. The last thing is that the player who placed the robber can now steal 1 resource card from a player who has a town or a city attached to the territory that they placed the robber on. If the robber is in one of your territories and you wish to get rid of him without rolling a 7, you can use one of your knights to relocate the robber to a different territory. You would then get to rob 1 resource card from a player whose town or city is in that new location. If you use a knight to fight off the robber, the knight card is returned to the bottom of the action card pile. Now, to win the game, you must be the first player to collect 10 points. You can collect points by having the largest army, longest roads, and any bonus points from the action cards, as well as building towns and cities. Towns are worth 1 point for each on the board. Cities are worth 2 points for every city that is on the board. Once you achieve 10 total points, you are the winner. So now you know the basics. Let's play!